Alright then, hey, what is up guys, it's Pohdoh here, and yes, I'm on my PC right now, not on Order&Chaos, just because, I don't know, I just don't have the time or motivation right now to actually go into competitive PvP. I know a lot about competitive PvP just because I hang out and I talk to a lot of people who are still, doing really competitive PvP, but regardless, just wanted to share my knowledge, if anything. This is one of those issues of do as I say, but I don't do as I say kind of deal, where I know I'm not making the optimal play whenever I do PvP, just because of a lack of practice or because I don't really care. I just play to have fun, and just basically just wanted to get out this information for those of you who might find it helpful. Now I've been doing a lot of guide videos, so I figure I might as well do this now. And first of all, big shout out to Nick Jr. He actually changed the talent calculator for 2.7.0, so you can actually use it for use it to make all your specs. It's not outdated or anything. So I'm just gonna be showing my Mage, Ice Mage spec profile right now. This is gonna be a more in-depth discussion of why I pick everything. So this is, you could probably, once you finish making a talent spec, you could probably, let me just do this right now. I know a lot of this by heart. 2, 1, 1, 3. Here, 3, 4. Boom. There we go. That's the talent spec. Notice how fast I was able to do that. Just because I noticed talent like back and forth. I spent a lot of time making up new talent specs, spent a lot of time theory crafting, but ironically I don't spend too much time actually playing the game. It's kind of like a pastime, because it takes a lot less time to actually make up these new specs than it does to actually play with them and practice with them. But regardless, I'm gonna be giving out my opinions on why I think this is one of the better talent specs out there, or at least the one that, or at least the choices I make and why I think they're all viable in different ways. I'll talk about different type of options there are, like what are different type of specs. So this is kind of one of those things where you can just close the window and just listen to me this entire time. You don't really need to watch the video. It's just gonna be my mouse moving around back and forth pointing the things. So anyways, let's see. First of all, the Ice Mastery. Let's first ask ourselves, why do we choose Ice? Well, because it's better than Fire in every single way. It does more burst. I mean, Fire does more consistent damage, but then Ice does more overall damage. No matter how consistent Fire is, it just does less damage, because in the time the Ice Mages do burst with Frost Phantom, they just deal so much damage, they deal so much burst, it just completely outstrips Fire on many different occasions, unless your opponents are stupid and they bunch up all the time, so you just get shockwave damage again and again. But that's not likely to happen against good teams. So Ice is just better it's just more reliable. It generally does more damage. It has a lot more control because of Quick Freeze and because of Frozen Mind. And Frozen Mind is especially helpful for refreshing Silence and for refreshing for refreshing Frost Blast, which has an unusually long cooldown still. And just in general, there really isn't that many reasons why you should do Fire. Same goes for Hybrid. Hybrid, the issue with Hybrid is that it takes, I guess, the best of Fire and Ice, but at the same time it has no power. It has no killing power. That's the main problem. You can argue that, you've seen some good Hybrid mages, but the honest truth is that it's just because of their gear, and with their gear they probably could have done better as pure Ice or pure Fire, preferably pure Ice. So that's why we choose Ice. And let's see, generally, there hasn't really been that many changes to Ice. It's been a lot of, not really technical changes, but there's been not really changes to the playstyle, but a lot of, little itty-bitty changes, which I talked about in my previous video. But one of the main things is that, the matchup against archers and rangers have been significantly improved if you're Ice, mainly because of, the inclusion of stone armor in my spec, which is mainly made to combat the new threat of Sins and the still prevalent threat of archers, but also because energy shield puts a chill condition, so as soon as they break your shield, you can just use Cyclone freeze them immediately for 3 seconds, run up to them or sleep them, and then if they burn their free will, then that gives you an opportunity to line of sight and then get up close to them. And if they have S3 bonus, then that kind of sucks, but that's just kind of like a weakness of mages. They always have a really hard time against rangers in general, which includes Sins, because mainly 1v1. Sins beat almost everything in 1v1 besides tanks and stuff. But in general, mages always have a hard time versus rangers, especially Ice. Especially Fire, because you really have so little control against rangers. But regardless, that's why I pick ice, just because it's overall the better choice. And I always do like ice. You know, if you guys remember, like, ice used to be really underpowered, and like I moaned and complained and bitched about it all the time, and it became really overpowered, and I complained how it was too overpowered as well. You know, it's just always been my focus spec. It's always been a spec I've been advocating, and in my opinion, one of my favorite specs in the game, and just in general. I mean, I really like the idea of ice mages. If I play another game, if there's an option to be like ice, then I always do it, like in Skyrim and such. So, anyways, Frost Blast 303 Frazil, it's obvious. Frazil, mainly because this is useless now, because a lot of the PvP gear has spell hit, and so this is completely irrelevant now, so you're gonna be able to get 100% spell hit regardless. This used to be kind of important. I used to favor this over Frazil, just because Frazil kind of refreshed Diminishing Return. Diminishing Return was a much bigger issue back when Frost Blast had a 20-second cooldown, but not so much anymore. You really do need every single, freeze opportunity you can get, even if it is random. So, anyways, I got this part in. At one point you can hear the audio cut off because I need to stop at like 10-ish minutes because Bandicam is retarded. And Erudition 5 out of 5 obviously just for damage. It doesn't really make as big of a difference as people think, but it definitely, there's no way you can really not include it. It's just so mandatory in many different ways. It's just free damage basically. And then, let's see, what else is there? And this is especially important for Forge when you're wearing more PvE gear. Without this, all you're wearing, you can't really improve your damage in any way, with gear, just because Wisdom, really does make a big difference in the change in spell power. And then Gift of Earth, 3 Gift of Earth, just because mana is more of a problem now. It's a 20-second cooldown, even Cyclone has been buffed, with only a 0.5 second global cooldown, and with the new haste bonuses. But even then, you really do need 60%. If you do 40%, you're probably gonna run out of mana halfway through the match, unless you're very, very conservative with your spells. In which case, it's gonna set back your damage and your burst, because you want to constantly spamming Frostbolt. And then if you do 1 out of 3, then you're gonna run out of mana. Like, there's no way you can possibly stop it. You're just gonna be spending way too much mana unless you significantly cut back on your burst, which really defeats the whole purpose of ice mages in general, which is all about burst. And then Stone Armor, you spec it mainly for Stone Spike and obviously Sleep. Sleep has been nerfed. It's a 6 seconds, but then you can use it every 30 seconds, which I guess is not really a nerf. It's just different. It's more of an escape spell rather than more of an escape and more of an offensive spell than a defensive drawing spell, if anything. And the reason why I want Stone Spike is that even though it says it just causes a slow condition and all that stuff, it actually causes a stun. It causes a weird kind of stun. I don't know the exact nature of it, but it does interrupt a lot of things. It does prevent the opponent from casting stuff. And even if it doesn't, just the icon of Stone Armor has a psychological effect. People tend not to attack an Ice Mage if they have Stone Armor up, which allows you to get off your CC and your burst off efficiently. And if anything, it's a good filler spell. Whenever you see your shield down, you can just spam it. And then people say that the movement speed decrease isn't that relevant, but I mean I can't really prove it doesn't work, but I mean it is, if it doesn't work, so what? The whole purpose of it is a stun. And the main reason, and the big reason why I want Stone Spike is for the Ranger matchup. Without this, you're so helpless against archers and against you're so helpless against archers, and you're very helpless against Sins, because of the silence. The main reason why Stone Armor was good, and it's something that a lot of non-veteran mages don't know, is that you can use Stone Armor during a silence condition. So as soon as you see a Sin or an Archer open up on you, you want to be spamming Stone Armor, because you want it to proc first of all to take less damage, so you can actually have enough health to survive their burst or survive their snipe. It really does reduce the amount of damage you take, and also so that you can stun them, so that once their burst is over, they don't smoke bomb or they don't escape immediately after. You could possibly catch them with a Frost Blast. And overall, it's just really good against a Ranger matchup. You really need to actually try it out and practice to see it work. This is something that I've been talking to a lot of different mages about as well. They all agree that Stone Spike, at least one of it, is very, very useful. And what else is there? One out of 3 rock mass, just because not many people attack ice mages now. I mean, you know, especially since DPS warrior heal isn't as potent as before. A lot of DPS warrior heals right now just running the spec, running it just because it's what they ran last update, and they really geared the warrior. They don't feel like, you know, switching classes. Okay, and sorry about that. Bandicam had to end for whatever reason, because I have the trial version still. I can't really find a cracked version anywhere. I can't torrent it just because I'm in college and college doesn't allow torrenting. But regardless, back on to what I was talking about. Yeah. And 1 out of 3 rock mass. I never really, maybe in 2s you want 2 out of 3 and take off a point from Gift of Earth. If you're running double DPS, possibly 2 out of 3 if you're running double DPS, depending on your team comp. If you're like, if you're with an archer or something, but still, I like 1 out of 3, especially for 4s. It's kind of there. I mean, really. I wouldn't want to put in 2 out of 3 stone spikes. 1 out of 3 stone spike is very different from 0 out of 3 stone spike, just because, you know, the fact that it's there and it's proccing is a lot different from a not proccing, and, you know, a 33% increase from 33% is not as big as you might think. You know, you just want to have at least 1 point into it. You just want it to proc, and then obviously perma, it's probably the reason why ice mages do more damage than fire overall, is because permafrost is not like flamestorm. It has a much bigger radius, and it's also instant cast, which means that which is the problem of flamestorm, which has always been a problem with flamestorm, which is that it's really easy to interrupt, even if it only has a 2-second cooldowns now. But and then 4 out of 5 Neve, I would 5 out of 5, but that means you can't get Blaze Prison. It's just the way the talent specs are, you know, talent specs are designed. And then Meteor, you know, there's been debates whether it's still useful anymore. It doesn't do more damage than Frostbolt, just because of this right here, Elemental Mastery. Elemental Mastery makes Frostbolt a lot more powerful than Ice Meteor in general. But Ice Meteor does do so much good damage in AoE situations, and it's just, you just kind of need it just for, you know, the what if situation. What if you get the opportunity to hit 2 people or 4 people at the same time? It just does so much damage if you can catch multiple people in it. And then as for the fire side, Whispering Winds, Elemental Phantom, you know, you don't do Shockwave just because mana's a problem as it is. You don't really want to waste your mana casting useless Shockwaves. Maybe if you had the FML set, you know, it'll be a little different, but regardless, through Whispering Winds, just because the amount of silences that's going around with DPS Warrior, Sonic Slash, you know, Sin, Cutthroat, Archer, Avulsion, I mean, Military Monks, Dragon Tail. There's just so much different silences going around, and even if it is random, it really does help here and there if you can resist the silence, and it's especially useful because of the mechanics that diminish in return. And then Elemental Mastery, this is a must. No matter what kind of Ice Mage spec you have, you must have Elemental Mastery. It's just so important. It increases your cast time, but such a large amount, it's actually just unreal. Lightning Shield is kind of like just extra damage. If you guys didn't know, Lightning Shield is bugged. Well, not really is bugged. It's just Lightning Shield is not I think I already mentioned this in my older video, but Lightning Shield is not a fire spell. It is not a fire spell. It's an energy spell, and it does weird things with the Ice Mastery. So it actually does 50% more damage if you have the Ice Mastery. This is something that not many mages actually know about. It's something it took me a while to actually pick up on. And then Blaze Prison, just because it's just a great spell in general. Relatively short cooldown, insta cast, very relatively long silence. 6 seconds is pretty respectable. And then that's the entire spec. And your basic combo, if you want to call it that, is just really simple. Just try to catch 2 or 3 people. You want to catch at least 2 people with Frost Blast. Unless you're sleeping the healer or sleeping the other person. The dream goal is basically just get them down in perma and then spam Frostbolt on them. You could spam Meteor on them if you get like 2 multiple people, but even then, I mean, like, you know, if the other person takes damage, it's like a so what deal. Ice Mage is a lot about burst and controlled single target damage now, unless you're in Forest, and in Forest is a different beast. I actually would not recommend focusing too much on damage in Forest. You actually want, I mean, in perspective, DPS Warriors, Military Monks, Archers, Sins, so many different classes have much better bursts than Ice Mages, and you want to leave it up to them to do the killing. Your main goal is to keep people alive and keep people controlled with a combination of Blaze Prison and Sleep. These two are the most important spells in the Mage arsenal for PvP, these two. Just because they're just so versatile. Sleep is especially used for incapacitating people. It really is used for keeping people alive, if anything. A well-placed sleep can win the game. If you place a good sleep on the healer, or if you place a good sleep on the healer, you can possibly, you know, score a kill. And if you get a well-placed sleep on like a DPS or a military monk, you can possibly save your opponents, save your teammates from dying. And especially military monks, this is so good against military monks. Not as good against DPS warriors or archers, just because they have range attacks like charge and sonic slash and avulsion and snipe and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's a general matchup. So I might as well just briefly talk about the matchups right now. The classes are actually very balanced right now. It's more balanced than they've ever been. Really isn't all too much reason to complain about class balance right now. They're as balanced as they can possibly get, in my opinion. And the only issue I have with classes right now is that they're so easy to play right now. Even Ice isn't that hard to play anymore. I mean, it's relatively basic. I mean, as long as you don't like fuck up and if you don't like make really stupid ass mistakes, then you'll be fine. When I say stupid mistakes, like in 4s, if you only catch one person with Frost Blast, I mean that's really stupid. You just wasted one of your most valuable cooldowns on one guy when you could caught 4 different people with it, or do other really stupid stuff like sleeping sleeping people when they're in the middle of a mass, or wasting or using Frozen Mind when you have Blaze Prison and Sleep not on cooldown, and just little stuff like that. I don't think you can talk about Frozen Mind. You really want to save that. You really want to save it until your Frost Blast, Winter Sleep, and Blaze Prison cooldowns are not up. When they're all on cooldown, preferably when they're on early cooldown, and even Stone Armor as well. You know, back-to-back Stone Armor does mitigate a lot of damage, surprisingly. Let's see. There's not really that much more to talk about the Mage spec. So we talked about the Ranger matchup. The military matchup is a blowout. He's a blowout. And you should be able to beat every military monk without any form of real instruction. It's just so easy. Just use Sleep. Just use Sleep, keep your distance, and it's easy peasy. DPS warrior matchup and tank matchup. Tank matchup is really easy just because tanks are pretty weak still. Fire matchup is very easy. DPS warrior matchup is kind of even, depends on who gets the first hit. If the DPS warrior gets the first hit, then you're probably gonna lose, and if you get the first hit or the first burst, then you're probably gonna win. But I mean, DPS warrior, it just really is about, you know, maintaining Sleep at the right time, because Blade Prison isn't really useful. And healers, it's a pretty good matchup actually. With a combination of Sleep and Blaze Prison, you actually can catch them. You actually can kill them now, just because Restore isn't as powerful, I think, or Restore isn't as powerful because of 50% healing nerf. But in World PvP, it really is such a struggle, just because you probably can't kill them one Frost and one Flame, one Frost Phantom, just because they just have too much HP and do just so much healing, and Restore does so much more in World PvP. And this is pretty much it. This is all like a documentation, if anything. Keep in mind, classes are gonna change. Mages, Rangers, and monks will have completely new talent spec, just like warriors, and all this right here will be gone within the next couple updates. You will never see this again, and you'll never play with this again. So I mean, you could enjoy it right now. I mean, I don't really like it, to be honest. I've been using this. I've seen the talent tree back and forth. I know this talent tree in my sleep at this point. And then we're also gonna have a new talent mastery if it's interpreted correctly. So there's gonna be Fire, Ice, and possibly Arcane at the bottom here somewhere, maybe. But anyways, that's the end of the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let's see. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. But this is just one of those in-depth guides. I'll do one for different classes if you guys really want me to. I have a pretty good understanding of Rangers, not so much good understanding of monks, and a pretty decent understanding of warriors. So if you really want, I can give a more basic and rudimentary introduction to them instead of like this really in-depth guide here. Or I can just have it like a gearing guide or whatever. So anyways, just tell me guys what you want. Tell me guys if you found this really helpful, and if you want this to be shorter or whatever. But you know, mainly this is just for documentation reasons. So I'm going to be putting out as much information as I can. I'm going to be cramming as much as I can in these videos. So anyways, it's Pohdoh here. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.